Right. Hey guys, I'm so glad that you could be here with us tonight. We're excited to be here. It's the Christmas season and we're all getting into it. And these are some of my closest friends and family. And I'm excited that we have so many different stories that we can share with you tonight and kind of give you our perspective on Rodan & Fields and why we thought this was such a great business opportunity for us. So hopefully it strikes a chord in you guys and you learn something about the company that you didn't know before. So the first thing is that I'm going to go through, I'm going to have all of us talk a little bit about our stories so you can get those different perspectives, and then we'll be done. And I think it'll be a really fun event. So I'm going to start out with Jennifer. So Jennifer and I have been friends for more than 10 years, but we look exactly the same.
We haven't aged a day.
No, thanks to Rodan & Fields. But in that time, so we've been friends for a really long time, and what I love about it is that people often come in and say, well, this person's really successful and that person's not. And I think it kind of shows that, you know, anybody can be successful, not because you're anybody, but because like you can have friends from all over that are doing this and are all really successful, and it's because the business is so successful. It's not us, it's that we really plug in and do what our team says, and we have a passion for doing it, and I think it's even more fun when you get to do it with friends like this. So regardless that we've been friends for a long time, Jennifer was also an editor and a writer and freelance
beauty editor
for a long time. And so she has a really great perspective on this business and things about products and stuff like that. So Jennifer, what initially made you interested in Rodan & Fields?
Okay, so I think the simple answer is the products, first and foremost. But then I think the deeper dive into that answer would be to go back into my, my journey as a beauty editor, because in doing that, I got to try all kind of products, from super high-end products to, things that you'd buy at the drugstore, like cult favorites. Mm-hmm. And through that career path, I thought I had learned that topical skincare truly couldn't change your skin. Like, you wouldn't see noticeable, visible results. I thought to see anything like that, you'd have to go to a dermatologist, have injectables, laser treatments, chemical peels, and things like that. And so whenever I saw your face and I asked you what you had been doing and what surgeries you had done, and you told me you had been using Rodan & Fields, I kind of thought like, yeah, right, why are you lying to me? But then as I saw improvement, I thought, oh my gosh, I think I need to be using what you're using. And then when I found out, and I think this is where it all kind of clicked together for me, when I found out that these products used to be sold in Nordstrom, I was like, oh, so it is real skincare. Because before I had thought like, oh, it's skincare that you buy from a friend. That's kind of ridiculous. Like, I buy real skincare from Sephora. And so when I found out that it was from a real store that I trusted, I thought, okay, maybe this is something I can look into. And then when I found out it was the same doctors who made Proactive, I thought, okay, now that's a brand I've heard of. I'd never used Proactive, but I knew it. So I knew it could be trusted. I knew it was a global brand. And so I thought, heck, if you're seeing results, I want to see those results. So I want to start using it.
Yeah, I mean, I do remember saying to you, well, if yours is working so well, why don't you take a picture and then tell me how it goes in 30 days?
Yeah, that didn't work so well. I've been using the same skincare for 6 months and saw no results.
Oh, yeah. So, but what's interesting to me is that you started the business without even trying the products first. So, how did that play out for you?
Well, I knew I wanted to use the products. And then when you were telling me you were working as a business, I thought like, well, heck, if she's going to get in on this next big thing, I want to do that too. And so I realized, hey, I want the skincare. I might as well get that big 50% discount and actually see if the business could work for me. So I thought, just go all in and do it and use everything that the company had to offer, get a big discount, and work the business.
Yeah, because it's really all sustainable at that point, right? Because there's no risk involved. So I love that aspect of it, that the doctors know these products work so well that they don't put any risks in it, and they don't want anybody working the business that's not going to truly love this business. And so they always are making sure that everybody's always protected. I think that's a huge thing for transparency, and to know that you're really loving on the people that are working for you and not just selling some business, because that's not at all what this company is. Right. So Alicia is another friend of mine, and we met through church. And we weren't necessarily the best of friends. We had a church group together. I think we loved each other and we were friends, but we hadn't stayed in that close contact together. Yeah. And so I love the power of social media, because it's that thing that kind of keeps you connected and all of that. And Alicia is a nurse by trade, and she was working at the time full time, and her husband had just been laid off. And so I'm curious, what was it about Rodan & Fields that was interesting to you?
So Actually, I hadn't even heard of Rodan & Fields myself. It was through my husband, because my husband was on Facebook. He was the one who was on social media. It was just not my thing. And he told me that Amanda was doing this. And so at that point, that really struck a big chord with me, because I felt like, well, you guys didn't need a side gig. You know, you were doing well. You're a CPA. Mark is a CFO. It just really kind of baffled me to a point. I'm like, why are you wasting your time with this? I know you guys don't have the time. You don't need the money. So, of course, my wheels started turning. Okay, there must be something more to this. This must be a good opportunity, especially for people who are so financially educated. And then the other thing, as I found out later through our conversations, was that there were no parties, no inventory that I had to lug around or anything like that, no sales minimums. My husband was in outside sales for over 10 years, and we had dealt with the monthly stress of what sales minimums can bring to a family. And so that was actually one specific question I had, I don't know if you remember, that I had asked you when starting this business, was there sales minimums? And I, being a new mom, I had a 3-month-old, and back at work, I just didn't have time to carry inventory or have to do mandatory parties or anything like that. And so this really felt like I could fit it into my life, which was very busy at the time.
Yeah. And I know, like, you guys were exploring a lot of different opportunities with Ryan being laid off. I think it was kind of an opportunity for you guys to kind of look around. You were kind of thinking about, should we open a business? And I mean, later on, you guys have opened, your donut and coffee shop, which has been really successful. But there's a lot of differences between, what we do and the normal startup of a traditional business. And I know that, Rodan & Fields has an initial investment. And so I'm curious, like, how those two things have weighed out for you guys.
Well, it's funny you asked that, because my husband and I actually joke about this, because all said and done, our brick and mortar business took us about a year and a half to open, from the conception of the idea to doors open. And it costed us about $150,000. And with Rodan & Fields, the less than $1,000 startup, there's just no comparison there. And then we continue to kind of dive into the different models. All the blood, sweat, and tears that was put into opening up our brick and mortar, and time away and long hours, long days on my husband. And then also we opened up a shop that nobody knows about. And so to make the comparison with Rodan & Fields, partnering with a virtual franchise that has global brand recognition, you can't put a price tag on that. For us as brick and mortar owners, it really is a no-brainer why we would not join this business.
Yeah. And I know, and I forgot to ask Jennifer, so I'll come back to you, Jennifer, in just a second, but I know that we all come in and we have, these fears about the business. We all have our preconceived notions about it. And Alicia, you weren't even on Facebook. So, when I know people who are like, you must have a huge network, and that's why you're so successful. And I was like, I had 200 friends on Facebook. I was not, a well-connected person, but you weren't even on Facebook.
No.
Not even on there.
I actually had an aversion to Facebook. There was a reason I wasn't on. And when I first started, I don't know if you remember, I told you, I hope you know that I'm not going to go back on Facebook. And you said, okay. And I most definitely, if I ever was getting back on Facebook, I was not posting anything, and I was not going to be messaging people.
Yeah.
And as I found out later, of course, joining the business without even trying the products, I didn't have that skin, I hadn't hit that skin changes, skin journey that Rodan & Fields offers people. But once I tried the products out for myself and I really saw what it was doing for me, naturally you share about things that you love. And so I got back on Facebook, and, I just started talking about it like I would normally, and it just came very natural. And then with some coaching from our wonderful team and support, which I don't think I would be where I am today in this business if it weren't for our team and their guidance and support. I found it to be very simple, especially from a person who is as introvert natured as I am. So it was doable.
Yeah, I think it says a lot. So I haven't really, gone through at this point and explained where everybody is in their business. But Alicia is, there's 5 levels in our business. She's at the top level of our business. So she has a very, very successful business. And within the next year, she's going to be a Lexus Achiever, which means her business is going to be grossing over $1 million a year. $1.5 million a year to be a Lexus Achiever. So it's so exciting to see, like, this person who really was like, I don't know about social media, and if I want to be on Facebook, but then come into it and really have a heart for helping people, and to see what you've been able to do with it from there is really exciting. And Jennifer, I hadn't bragged on either, but she just did her first month of Lexus qualification. So your business is already generating $1.5 million a year, which is incredible. I mean, you guys, that's a ton of skincare. It shows the need that the consumer has for an alternative than, a beauty counter, and that they can go somewhere and get help from a friend that they trust and they rely on, and they can get the results that they want, with these money-back guarantees until they find the proper solution for them. But even so, like, Jennifer, I know you had hesitations in the beginning. And I mean, it wasn't like I was like, Jennifer, this is what I'm doing. And she was like, I'm going to sign up. No, it wasn't like that. So I know there, what were those things that were kind of holding you up?
Well, you told me you were going to sell skincare, and I thought, oh my God, can we still be friends? And then I thought, well, don't you dare ask me to do it too.
Yeah.
Because, I don't know, like, all of you, like, if you had imagined, like, the kind of person you thought would be selling skincare, like, if you close your eyes and imagine that person, like, what that would be, I know that what I imagined wasn't what I see on this couch right now.
Right.
And so I just had this picture, and I didn't want to be that girl, like, oh, that girl that when she calls, you're like, oh my God, like, you don't want to answer. And you see a message pop up from her, you're like, oh, God, so scary. But what I've learned is it's so different, like the caliber of people that I see joining this company is incredible. And, I shouldn't have been even fearful from the beginning, because look at the caliber of person that asked me.
Right.
Like one of my very, very best friends, and a well-educated, well-paid CPA. Like, she's a business-minded person.
Super smart.
And so
let's just talk about it.
But so, and I think that the numbers that recently came out from convention really support that. So we found out at convention that 40% of consultants are educated with a bachelor's degree or a master's degree. I think that's higher than the national average of people
It is.
working
Way higher than
in corporate America.
Yeah.
And that 40% of consultants bring in a household income more than $100,000. Like, that's crazy. So these aren't even people like necessarily like needing the money. And 70% work full or part-time jobs. And so that's busy people. So you have like well-educated, busy people who don't necessarily need the money, seeing an opportunity like this. And so when I saw those kind of people working this business, I knew like, hey, I'm in really good company, and it wasn't the kind of person that I pictured. So no reason to be scared, because we're all like business savvy, smart people.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's crazy because the growth potential of what this affords us is so much higher than anything else we could do, regardless. And it does kind of remind me of the situation you're in. So let me introduce, this is my sister-in-law, Amy Barta, and she is also a level 5, the top level of our company, and has really just been knocking it out of the park. But she kind of had like this stop and go to her business. And so I'm curious, like, Amy, I know that like you started, were excited, and they kind of had a hesitation. You went full force into it, but kind of what were the things that were playing into that scenario?
Oh gosh, well, to start for 3 months and then stop for 9, which is what I did. I think it was just a lot of fear of the unknown, and also not necessarily thinking that this is something that could work. But what really kind of catapulted me into restarting my business and going for it was the fact that I do occupational therapy. I was working in a hospital for 4 years. There's a freeze on raises for 4 years, and they finally lifted this freeze. And my expectation, I know it's healthcare, and I was a hospital, but I still expected a fairly good raise. I'd worked the past 3 Christmases, New Year's, Thanksgivings, weekends, overtime. That's how you make money when you work in healthcare. You work extra hours. And my raise was 72 cents. Oh. And it was truly at the time, not only making me mad, but it was heartbreaking, because I realized what that meant. I realized what that meant was that at 34, I had reached my ceiling for income. And that was really a scary feeling, because expenses were only going up. We had 2 kids at the time, and we still do. And we still do. But, you have all the costs that come with that. So that's what really got me started again, and also seeing that when I stopped out of fear, and Jennifer started at the same time as me, and her and I both were very hesitant, I think. And I was like, well, I'm going to stop, so she's probably going to stop too. And she did it. She did it. She was so smart. And I think seeing the success, not only of Amanda, but of Jennifer, and I thought, oh my God, what is happening? Jennifer's doing so well. And not only was Jennifer doing well, but then every person that I would see Amanda bring into this opportunity was doing well, and that spoke to me. And so I thought, if all of these women who are busy, who are smart, who have the same stresses as me can do this, why can't I? Why can't I provide a different future that's outside of the box for my family? Because I knew going back to school for my master's, which is another way to make more money in healthcare, is higher education. It was a minimum of a $50,000 investment. And that came with interest, and that also came with a lot of time sacrifice for my family. And I wasn't prepared to make that.
Yeah. No, I mean, I get it. It is a lot of sacrifice. So I know you had all that. You've obviously done really well with the business. We also see your numbers are really projecting towards Lexus next year, which is super exciting. 2018 is going to be a really amazing year for our team, for the people on it. But like I was asking them, I mean, there's things that are scary about the business when you start. So, I mean, were there any things initially that you were like, I don't know if I can overcome this? And
I just didn't feel like I was a salesperson. That was, I think people saw that maybe I could be, because I'm very talkative. I'm a very outgoing person. So I wouldn't say that I'm introverted, but it doesn't necessarily for me translate into being a salesperson. I thought, I don't want to push this on my friends. But for me, when I started using the products, because I started the products prior to starting the business, and I was using Unblemished. I had horrible acne after my second daughter was born. It was cystic, and it completely cleared me up. So for anyone who suffers with adult acne, you have something that completely clears you up. That's huge. So, with that, I knew that this was something that I could share about in a very natural way, because it was something that worked and I believed in. And you also realize, too, I would constantly tell people about, where I got my hair done, or where they should eat, or this new makeup I got from Sephora. And it was just sharing, but this is something I could share about so easily and get paid to do it. So that
makes such a huge impact on people's lives, right?
Absolutely.
Because you realize,
Absolutely.
It's huge.
Yeah. So that was a big thing. And then I realized that it was just, that's what it came down to, is I didn't have to be a salesperson.
Yeah, thank goodness.
Yeah.
I know. I don't think I would have made it. I mean, obviously, as a CPA, that's not, you don't want to sell anything as a CPA. You're just reporting the numbers fairly. So I don't think
it's caring.
But yeah, I mean, this thing, and I think it's so interesting, right? Because that has really been the basis for why this company is so successful. And the reason that we're a market disruptor is because social media and the way that it's played into how things are done now is so incredibly different, right? Because we rely on the word of a friend so much more than like a celebrity, and so things are changing. I think our doctors were incredibly visionaries, realizing that so long ago, and I think our numbers show that. So just to back up a little bit, if you guys don't know my story, I'm a CPA, and I loved my job. I think all of us actually really loved our jobs. We all had something that we were passionate about. But at the end of the day, what I noticed with my job was that it was just this constant loop of going to work and coming home and then getting the kids ready for dinner and then getting them ready for bed, and I was always preparing to prepare and never living my life. And so I just felt really chained to my desk. And I know you guys, know that story as a mom or a parent. I think we all can relate to that about, we're just stuck in that hamster wheel. And so for me, I had no reason to really look at it, but it really does support the numbers that you were saying earlier. Financially, we didn't need anything. We were really happy. I felt really blessed. And I started this business 3 years ago. And so when I started it, there was no reason for me to do it except for I started to kind of look at my friend who is extremely successful in it. And what's funny is that she's super introverted. And I just was like, why would she do this? She's so fancy. And there's no reason for fancy Nancy to be doing this. And so I just couldn't figure it out. And she had 3 little boys under the age of 3, which Jennifer can attest to. Even crazy busy people can do this business. And so I didn't understand what the pull was, because I knew she wasn't making $500 a month. There's really, at the level that her family was producing income, I knew that wasn't something that she would have done. And so I was curious about it. I really wanted the skincare because I had a lot of sun damage and I wanted it gone. And I think all of us everybody has a skincare issue that they want resolved, right? And so that is a huge reason why we're so successful is because we don't meet people who don't need help. So when people are like, I don't know, maybe it's saturated, I'm like, do you not know someone with skin who wants something to change something about it? Like, we all want to change something about it. So, you know, I definitely had those reasons. But the other thing is that my mom had been diagnosed with dementia. I wanted to help her with her bills. That was very important to me at the time. And I knew I could always work more. Like, I could always work more in my field and make money, which is a huge opportunity. You guys could have done that as well. You could have taken on more jobs. You could have taken on more hours to make more money. But what I realized is that Harvard was really, they did a review on our business, Harvard Business Review, on Rodina Fields, not on any other direct sales company. So that was really important, that it wasn't just a general one, but on this company. And they said that you could shrink a 40-year career into 3 to 5 years. And I thought, that there's something to those numbers. And I don't really understand what those numbers are about. But, you know, a lot of it we've already touched on. It's the incredible branding of these doctors. They had already created a brand that with Proactive, and it was successful and dominated 80% of the market in over 113 countries.
Crazy.
That's nuts. I mean, you bet Starbucks hasn't even done that. So, like, when you look at those numbers, you start to realize that this is an anomaly, and this is why we don't see one person being successful in the business, but multiple people being successful in a huge market. So, and it's also a very, very big market. It's one of the largest markets in the world, which makes sense. It's skin, right?
Everyone
So
has it, right?
everyone has it. So again, right? It's the same thing. Hopefully, they all do, right? But it makes so much sense when we look at it, and everybody's aging all the time. So it was just the combination of those things, along with social media, that's come into play. The pristine reputation of these doctors, two of the top entrepreneurs of the decade, according to Investopedia. The products that have innovation unlike anything else in the market, and have been written up by Forbes. I mean, Forbes doesn't always talk about products that are working this well. So the idea that they're like zoning in and picking up on like what these doctors are doing and the innovation that our company is doing, and a lot of the things we do are patent pending, and nobody else has this technology, and they're not going to have it for years. So we are light years ahead of other companies, and they're not even going to be able to compete with us. And I think it shows in our numbers. And so what happens is, when I started, and this company is only 10 years old at this point, and when I started, Estee Lauder, Lancome, and Clinique were all ahead of us.
Right.
And now we're number one, right? We're number one across all price points. So there's nobody like from your grocery store to Nordstrom's or Neiman's or anybody who does what we do and the way that we do it and how well we do it. So nobody's outperforming us in all of North America. Yeah. And I love that because not only are we number one in North America, but now we're starting to branch out globally. So it's so exciting because we're in this very like infant stage of the business, and we're all building really big businesses that we don't even understand. Like in a year or 2 years, like how much this is going to duplicate. Yeah. And I think that's why the Harvard Review is so crazy, right? Because I'm looking at like, how can I replace my career? Like, I have a pension, I have a 401k, I can stay here, this is amazing. I have benefits that no one else has. But the reality of it is 3 years later, Harvard was absolutely right. I've outpaced my CPA salary. I've almost doubled it. Oh, I have doubled it at this point, which is nuts. I never would have thought that. By next year, I'll have replaced my salary and my husband's salary combined, which he's CFO of a marketing branding company, which his company comes in and says, can you do anything like what Rodina Fields does? Because we're doing a case study on them. And I'm like, that's so crazy that people are studying our company and our branding and marketing.
That's huge.
Yes, because they realize we're doing something that other people haven't done before.
Right.
And so it's just being able to surpass that's crazy. But there were things about it that like the Harvard Review couldn't tell me. And that was really, you know, being able to provide for my mom in the last year of her life was something that is, you know, incredibly meaningful and powerful for me as a daughter. And not even to mention that, but like that could have been the most stressful year of my life. Obviously she was sick, our family had a lot going on, but the idea that I didn't have to work more and that I could be present and it wasn't like another stress added onto the situation was huge for us. And I don't think that anybody could ever explain in any kind of review what it means to finally be present with your people, with your kids, you know, and with your life, and stop just preparing for the next day and actually live your life. Yeah. And the idea that like next year Mark has the opportunity to do that. that he can choose what he wants to do and how much he wants to work is really, it's mind-blowing, and it's also giving our family a chance at really living life that we've never had before. And we would not have ever had we stayed in corporate America.
Right.
That wasn't going to happen. So on that note, the gratitude note, and I know we have a lot of great things coming up in a new year and all that thing, we kind of always, this is the time of year that we're like, what if things could be different in 2018? I would like us to stop and pause and think about what we're so grateful for that happened over 2017 too. So, Jennifer, since I started with you, I don't know, what are you most grateful for?
You know, when I started this business just over 2 years ago, I had recently gotten laid off from a job while I was 7 months pregnant with my first daughter. And it's incredible to see what's changed in my life. During that time of my life, I didn't know how we were going to make ends meet and do different things and grow as a family. And since doing Rodan and Fields, all of those dreams I had put on the back burner are starting to come into fruition. We've grown from a family of 3 to a family of 5. So I now have 3 little girls. And I used to have 3 that were 3 and under, but my daughter just had a birthday, so a 4-year-old too. But we also got to become homeowners, which was a really big dream of mine, to be able to have a space that was ours.
I bet that's huge that you can make enough income doing this, not having to go in, still being able to be there with your kids.
Oh, yeah.
And that provided you the opportunity to bring enough income in that you could qualify for that on your loans and get a home. That's huge.
Right, so like getting laid off from my job has now enabled me to have enough money to buy a home. But yeah, it's true. I now make more money doing Rodan and Fields than in any of my previous full-time jobs in publishing or advertising. And I work really part-time hours around my family's crazy schedule with 3 little kids. And you know, you would think in a traditional job when you like welcome a new baby and you might have to take maternity leave or have pay decreases. Well, my pay has increased since having all this craziness now. And it's, you know, so thankful, so blessed. So it's been my biggest thing that I'm grateful for.
Right. What about you, Alicia?
Well, I would say that the biggest thing that I'm thankful for is that this has given us the peace of mind in the opportunity to dream. So as we have gone through in our journey of opening up a brick and mortar over the last 2 years, if it were not for this business, we would not still be living in our home. We would not be able to pay our mortgage. We would not be able to pay our utilities. I would not be able to give my daughter the opportunity to do Mother's Day out. We wouldn't be where we are today. And so that means that our other business wouldn't be where it is today. And we are so grateful for that. We're so grateful for our other business. We have a deep-rooted mission in what we want to pursue there and reaching our community. And for my husband to be able to fulfill dreams that he's had for so many years and not have to be handcuffed to that corporate job that he really did not like. But we can just have the freedom to live life on our own terms and not have to worry about that. That's life-changing. That's huge. So I am so grateful for this. This has been such a blessing for our family.
Yeah, I know, it's funny because I think that tagline, like, life-changing skincare, we're like, really, it's so dramatic. But when you're in it, right? I mean, there's no way to explain, like, how incredibly life-changing it is. And it's not life-changing for one person in the family. It has this huge ripple effect that, like, not only affects you, but your husband, your children, the people around you that you're able to help, not either skin-wise or, like, you know, financially through a business. Like, it is incredible when people aren't living under debt and they're not living underneath the fear of, you know, not having a plan B and not having savings or whatever their issue is. Like, it's incredible what it can do. Anyway, but Amy, grateful.
Oh, yeah, grateful.
Are you grateful?
So what I'm most grateful for, let's start this, is for FOMO. If you don't know what that is, fear of missing out. That was a huge thing for me when I started back up again. It was a fear of missing out because I'm like, no way am I going to have my 2 friends driving around in a Lexus and I'm still in my 2004 Honda Pilot with a cassette player. Like, no way. But also, too, one thing I didn't talk about earlier is the fact that my youngest daughter, she's had a lot of health issues since she was 9 months old. She got RSV, which has kind of been a catalyst for many respiratory issues that have required multiple hospitalizations. Let's see, 9 rounds of steroids before the age of 3, so it's 90 days of steroids. And it's kind of been constant. My husband and I were calling into work nonstop, and this is going on while I had restarted my business, and so I'm building it. And after about a year, we're kind of getting to this breaking point where, people are really supportive at your job, but only so supportive as they can be when you're not very consistent in being there. Yeah. And so we went to the pulmonologist, and just kind of at her wit's end, she had gotten pneumonia again, 5th time before the age of 3. And he basically said, the only thing that I can tell you to do is pull her out of daycare. I mean, that's it. And I don't know many people that can be like, cool, I'll do that, sure. No, our kids go to daycare because we have to go to our jobs. And so we said, okay. So we went home and we looked at our finances, and only because of Rodan & Fields, that day I was able to put in my resignation. That day I was able to pull my daughter out of daycare. And she had the longest stint in her entire life that she had of being healthy when I pulled her out. It's huge. She's back in now. But that's been so life-changing for us. Mm-hmm. I think to know that I have this ability, a plan B, an option. And as a mom, I can't imagine being in that situation, which I'm sure so many are in, to be able to say, okay, we can't do that. Mm-hmm. But I could say, okay, we can. Yeah. And that is going to stay with me forever. So that is what I'm most grateful for.
No, I get it.
Yeah.
I mean, you're saying that, I'm like, it's nuts because of all the opportunities we have that we never would have had before. And, and even seeing how, like, we loved our jobs and we love our family. And now we're like, you can still go back and do your job one day a month if you want to do it.
Right.
Or, you can always take a freelance thing. You can always pop in and, like, love on babies when you want to. Mm-hmm. But the opportunity not only to be present for our families, but to call this work. Yeah. I mean, seriously, guys. Like, woo! I mean, it's just pretty amazing, because it doesn't mean that you leave your passions behind. It means that you fulfill them in different and bigger and more meaningful ways. Right. And I think that's what's absolutely huge for it. So, with that, you guys, I hope that you've learned something or gleaned something about this company that maybe will propel you to do something really big at the end of this year. I joined in December. I think it was the best time to ever join. It was honestly the best Christmas present I ever could have given myself. So absolutely. I hope you would do that for yourself. But I would talk to the consultant that turned you on to this video or, event, and ask your questions, get them answered, because fear will always hold you back. But on the other side of it is some really amazing things and some really amazing people that want to see you succeed, that want to help you every single step of the way. Mm-hmm. So with that in mind, cheers to friendships.
And great skin.
Yes.
Opportunity.
Woohoo!
And a merry and bright future with Rodan & Fields.